Today, we're taking a look at a core pillar of marketing, a rule that's so foundational it's pretty much treated as fact, but we're going to dive into some research that asks a pretty dangerous question about what it really takes for a brand to win. Let's get into it.
What if I told you that the single most repeated piece of marketing advice, the one they teach in every business school and preach in every boardroom, is basically built on a myth?
Yep, you heard me. We're talking about the famous mantra, differentiate or die. For decades, it's been the absolute, unquestioned truth of how you build a brand. But what if the data, the actual evidence, tells a completely different story?
So the traditional thinking is really simple, right? To win, your brand has to carve out some kind of meaningful difference in the customer's mind. This special something is supposed to be why people pick you, why they stick with you, and why they'll even pay more for what you sell. It's your unique selling proposition, your USP.
And this is not just some casual idea. As researchers Jenny Romaniuk, Byron Sharp, and Andrew Ehrenberg pointed out, it's treated like a commandment. The whole assumption is that if you don't have a clear point of difference, your brand is just going to get lost in a sea of competitors.
But here's the thing about science. It's all about questioning what we think we know. So a group of researchers decided to stop just accepting this golden rule on faith and, actually put it to the test.
This work was really pushed forward by people like Jenny Romaniuk and Byron Sharp, and they decided to ask some very, very straightforward questions about this whole idea of differentiation.
So what they looked into basically boiled down to this. First, how different do actual customers, the people spending the money, really think brands are? Second, is seeing that difference a requirement for them to actually buy something? And finally, is all the massive effort and money brands pour into being different actually paying off?
And this right here is where it gets really interesting, because when they dug into the data from real customers across dozens of categories and countries, the results were, they were pretty shocking.
Get this. Across 17 different markets, we're talking everything from cars and computers to soft drinks and banks, they found that on average, only 17% of a brand's own customers describe that brand as different or unique. Just let that sink in for a minute. The overwhelming majority of people buying a brand don't think there's anything all that special about it.
I mean, just look at that breakdown. It's incredible. For every one customer who sees their favorite brand as unique, there are about 5 others who don't. And yet, they're still buying it. This completely torpedoes the idea that a perceived difference is what drives the sale.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, fine, but that can't apply to the truly iconic brands, right? What about the poster child for differentiation? Apple. Their entire identity was built on being different. Think different was literally their slogan. Well, the researchers looked at exactly that. And according to their data, only 23% of Apple's own users describe the brand as different or unique. That means a massive 77% of people who chose and used an Apple computer didn't see it as fundamentally different. They just bought it to do computer stuff, same as any other brand.
So, if customers aren't picking brands because they're different, then what's really going on? The research points to a really crucial shift in how we should think. It's about moving away from differentiation and toward a much more powerful idea called distinctiveness.
And here's the key difference. Differentiation is about trying to persuade people that your brand is better. It's a message about preference. Distinctiveness, on the other hand, is all about identification. It's just about making sure customers can easily notice you, recognize you, and remember you in a super cluttered world. And the way you do that is with what are called distinctive assets. Think of them as sensory shortcuts that link right back to your brand in a person's mind. Their job isn't to give you a reason to buy, but to just make your brand easy to find when you're ready to buy.
And you know these assets by heart. That specific shade of red that just is Coca-Cola. The golden arches you can spot from a mile down the road. Those 3 little words, just do it, that can only mean Nike. See, these things don't argue that the brand is superior. They just make sure you know exactly who you're looking at, instantly.
So this all leads to a totally new goal for brands. Be findable, not different. This changes everything. Instead of this endless, exhausting quest to be seen as better, your main job is just to be ridiculously easy to find.
This actually takes us all the way back to the original purpose of branding. Before all the complex emotional storytelling, a brand was just a mark, a literal brand to show you who made the product. This research suggests that this simple, fundamental purpose, identification, is still the most important job a brand has today.
So how do you build this stuff? The researchers lay out 3 clear steps.
First, the asset has to be unique to you. If your special color is also used by 3 competitors, it's pretty much useless. Second, it has to be prevalent, meaning most of your customers have to actually make that connection. And third, and this is the hardest part, you have to be relentlessly consistent with it. Across every ad, every package, for years.
And here's why this is so great for the person on the other side of the counter. Strong, distinctive assets help the consumer because they reduce the mental effort. In a world with way too many choices, you're not asking them to analyze your unique features. You're just making your brand effortless to spot and buy. You're actually making their life easier.
Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. Is your brand, or the brands you work on, investing millions trying to convince people that they're meaningfully different and better? Or are they focused on the far more practical and powerful goal of simply being unmistakable, unforgettable, and in the end, just easier to buy? The evidence seems to suggest that second path is the real key to success.